Call the October Park Board meeting to order. You want to do the roll call for us?
Casanova.
Here.
Mike Kennedy.
Here.
Anthony Liberto.
Here.
Karen Nessett. Here. Pam Brokaw.
Here.
Ready to go. There was a copy of minutes in the email that went out. Did anybody catch anything that was omitted or wrong? Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. We don't have any citizenry here. So for new business, we've got item A is our discussion and possible action to extend the lease agreement with the Buckeye Garage.
Yep, so we did the Buckeye Garage at the last month's meeting. This month's meeting, you are approving the agreement for the use of space on the south side of Lakefront Park, also known as Picnic Point. So this is a continuing agreement that we've had with the St. Croix Sailing School to utilize space down there. They have a couple of small sheds that they use to store some equipment, and then obviously operate their sailing school, some of the training sessions, so on and so forth. So they've had the use of that space since 2018, and so it's been a good partnership, and staff is recommending approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Number two, discussion and possible action to approve the memorial application for Michelle Jacobson.
Yep, so another memorial bench application from Michelle Jacobson. She is requesting the installation of a memorial bench in Lakefront Park down near the boardwalk. I did walk the area, and there is room for bench in that area. So staff is recommending approval of option 1 that she had in her packet. But before you approve, I just want to say, we have had a lot of requests for memorial benches this summer, and 100% of them have been outside of Don's, have been in Lakefront Park. And so one of the things that I think I'm going to be working on over the winter months is amending that memorial packet. And what I'm going to do in there is I'm going to put together a map of other parks that need benches. And if someone does request a memorial bench, I'll give them those options instead of always putting them in Lakefront Park.
Yeah.
And so just to let you know, I will be working on that and probably bring it forward, whether it's at the November meeting, or we usually cancel December, or the January meeting. So just kind of give you a heads up on that. Because I don't know about you, but it just always seems like Lakefront Park is a beautiful park, but it's just like there are other parks in the city that need benches as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it isn't like they're putting one there, which means we can put one somewhere else.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Assuming we'll set some kind of a limit, but we don't know what it is yet.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, depending upon kind of what I feel as far as what we need in other parks. I also don't. I want to install benches that people are going to use too. So there's that to consider as well.
Next item.
Oh.
Or anybody have any questions? Yeah, sorry.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Anything else related to either of those two items?
Nope.
The other item we have on there is the bike and trails, an update on what's going on with that, and a request for, in the not too distant future, that each of you walk the property that covers. When I say the little dam and the big dam, it's where the Willow River dumps in, Lake Malibu dumps into the St. Croix River. That land, the boundary between North Hudson and Hudson was the middle of the Willow River, which came out where the little dam is, where the big dam is on the peninsula there was solid sand. It was a big jetty, if you will, or sandbar coming out, and then that's where Burkhart built his mill, and there'd been a number of those, and the car shops and all the other businesses that existed along the riverfront in those days. The land we already own, along with the county, the village of North Hudson, and there's even a sliver in there that's owned by, or that's also owned in common with us from the township. And then all of those bodies have an agreement for the maintenance of the dams in that part. The railroad hasn't used that trestle bridge in forever. And back when the new bridge was crossing the St. Croix and the planning for that, was funding for a bicycle trail to come down the Wisconsin side to link up to the one on the other side and make the loop, which would mean you could go from here to Minnetonka by bicycle, which is pretty cool. And the logical place, rather than sending the bicyclists down the North Hudson Bridge and up underneath the 400 bridge, would be in scenic to bring them across the railroad trestle. And from there, so that's the property, and that was the intent. The Bike and Trails Coalition spearheaded forming a committee that would look at that and what could be done and on work. And it involved, I was asked by the mayor to be on it. There was representation from the council, from the county board, village, and North Hudson. So all the parties were involved in all of the discussions on the property. In the beginning, this is 6 years ago, the railroad owned the trestle and the strip that the tracks were on. Mark Garrity was, on behalf of the Rails and Trails, trying to get together with the railroad to purchase that property. They got a grant from the government to pay for the use of the National Park Service planning staff to assist the committee in developing the concepts and the ideas and plans for a potential park in that area. While that was going on, simultaneous to that, we find out Bruce Lenzen bought the railroad property, that strip of land that they own, and is planning to want to develop and proceed with that. And I want to say, before you start hearing all kinds of stuff, our committee, we don't feel one way or the other about Bruce Lenzen and his project. We think Bruce has been forthright, good to work with, and is a good person. We just want it to turn out as nice as possible, with however it ends up going through the governmental process to end up, because part of it's in conservancy. The old railroad bed on the Hudson side is still somewhere zoned commercial. You know, that isn't, so all those things need to get resolved by Bruce and go forward to identify what's the property. And in his concept plan for his original layout of things, he has a park drawn in for part of it, and wants to, and looks at the bicycle trail through there as a positive attribute. And as a committee, we kind of view his property as two hunks. South of the dam, coming towards Hudson, the Hudson side, and north of the dam being has almost a separate identity, if you will. And you'll see it when you're down there looking around, but by its very nature, it's set back more. It's not in your face, if you will, as much as that wide open land that the railroad had on the south side. And Bruce offered to the committee to give us the trestle bridge. And we had to say, we aren't a 501c3 that could receive the trestle bridge. And even if we were, we'd have to know what liabilities that are coming with it. Because, and there's a misnomer amongst the mayor and Stanley and others, the recreational use permit that exists on governmental property used for recreational purposes, you can't sue them if you get hurt or do something or are stupid on it, like you can an individual. Otherwise, you'd be too afraid of having parkland or anything that the general public would go on. So that's where that comes from. So ultimately, it would make the most sense, however things shake out and it comes out, that the bridge itself be owned by all the parties, just like the other property in that is. Now, that's taken care of, and that issue, if you will, is removed. And there'll be a lot of stuff have to be done about testing for, what can be done on it, what it can support, and all those kinds of things. But that's where that is rolling forward. And Bruce has said he'd like the bicycle trail to continue through his property on the north side, where he's currently before the village to get approval to build townhouses. And now that we're on the north side, the people who live in East Bank, the condos there, probably, I would guess, as a collection, they're probably the highest taxpayers in the village in North Hudson. They have a say. They're taking the stand. They're not against it either. They want to see whatever is done there be done really nicely, taking into account their needs for privacy and those kinds of things. The woman who owns the apartment building, Mrs. Drebner, lives on Riverside Drive. She's been at some of our meetings and is aware of what we're trying to do as a park, that no, we're not going to send all the bicyclists down Riverside Drive, which they don't want in coming through there. They're going to be routed elsewhere. Those kinds of issues have been looked at, and they've tried to lay things out. So where we're at now, don't know what's going on with the freeze with the budget and all that right now. But we did have, or they did have funding to have the National Park personnel still work with us as needed into next year. And they're extremely helpful. And it's the staff who do that for the park. So they know what they're doing and they know what they can and can't do on where they're doing it, So they've been a huge, huge help to the process. So where we're at now is Bruce is before the village in North Hudson with his development plans. And because that's in North Hudson is the lead on everything that's going to take place on that property. With the DNR permitting and all of that will go through them. Bruce is before them right now with a petition to change the zoning on part of it from commercial as it was to residential and that. And again, I want to say, as a committee, we don't care. We want it just to be nice when it's really done. And he's already been willing to want to work with us. And he's a good guy. So, but I'm trying to be cautious because I know people are watching it or will watch this on TV, that he's really been nice to work with. And he is a good builder. And we'd like to see him be successful. We'd also like to see all the current laws as they are enforced. So we'll let that play out as that play out. And meanwhile, as it comes into clarity, we will be developing things further. All that leads to what the committee would like to have is a joint meeting with both park boards, the Hudson Park Board and the North Hudson Park Board, sometime the first part of next year, to bring everybody up to speed, because by then we'll have some idea closer to what may or may not be taking place, so we can, as a group, talk about how things have been laid out so far. What's your input? How do we want to go about this and make this a collaborative thing between the village of North Hudson and the city of Hudson? And our approach is to try and make it a win-win for all three, Bruce Lenzen too, as it works out. Because it could be just, as you'll see it as you're walking it, it is a really gorgeous piece of property to stay in, and the people already own it. It isn't like you got to go out and raise money to go out and buy it. And the county, at one point, Bruce had made a proposal to the bodies, the county, village, and city, to trade property for the frontage property on the west side of the railroad tracks. And they said no. The city owns it. in perpetuity, the village and the county don't want to, the taxpayers own it, they don't want to give it up, don't suggest it anymore. So that was clear then on that. And with the 3 to 4 owners, it just takes one to say they don't want to do it, and it's a no deal. So I have not seen, or we at the committee have not seen, a layout today of what Bruce wants to do on the Hudson side. All his focus today is on the North Hudson side of things. And they're in the process of zoning and committee reviews and all of that starting. And I'm sure it'll be a mare's nest, you know. It just, you know, there's gonna be a lot of opinions. And that's why I wanted this on our TV record to try and bring it forward of in a more public way of where we're at with things and how we view what's going on before we get defined by the public as you guys are for or you guys are against or any of that. We're trying to, if you will, state our neutrality, but our desires up front to really have it end up. And also I should throw in there, when we looked at it as the bicycle trail, and this goes back in long-range planning for the parks, we did not view that as a trailhead. Okay, we viewed it as there would be parking for fishermen, there would be a place for kayakers or boarders to put in on either the St. Croix side or the Lake Malibu side. There would be some small pavilions, a lookout out by the dam to be able to see upriver and down. We being collectively, no, the city owns independently the property along Bridge Street up above. So you're at the North Hudson Bridge, you make a left, you go to the top of the hill, make another left. That land between there and Lake Malibu belongs to the city. There's a strong connection to the Native Americans from that ground, and before everything got flooded, that was a large battle was fought there once upon a time between the Chippewa and the Ojibwa, I believe, over hunting rights for here. And so that was one of the elements we wanted to put into the park, was the history of what took place there with the car shops in North Hudson, which they were the Detroit automakers of the railroad industry as it was burgeoning and beginning because of the lumber that was here. And and that's what formed North Hudson. That's why North Hudson existed.
Yeah. So I guess when the committee wants to set up this meeting between the two park boards, just let me know, and then I can let the park board know and set up a time, and we'll have to post it as a
it'll
forum,
be something
and then-
after the first of the year,
Yeah.
because they're in their middle of their long-range planning and their budgeting,
Perfect.
and so the time would be good
Okay.
for everybody to. It's not this is me saying, not voicing necessarily the opinion of the committee, but I think they would like to go here. We'll come up with the funding when we're in the belief that with the connections of the people who are on that committee, to the Phipps Foundation, to the St. Croix Valley Foundation, to, I can't think of their name. Anyhow, a couple other large, they have the big plant up in the industrial park. They're from the east side of the state. Huh? Yes. They've paid for a huge bicycle complex. They're really behind it. So the point is, the committee has said to the mayor and to Stanley, because North Hudson's really hamstrung. They did such a good job of managing their budgets and everything else like the city of Hudson did, that their revenue sharing with the state of Wisconsin is terrible. It was all bent, like River Falls has a huge planning and parks, and they've got 7 or 8 more staff people than you guys do, just because they get more funding.
Well, we know.
So anyhow, but we'd like to, we're relatively confident that we can come up with the funding to be able to give it to the village and the city without it having being a tax burden to the people. You know, but it should go in. It would really make for a great piece of properties to develop. So I would ask you, if you have time this fall with the leaves turning and everything else, go to the North Hudson Bridge before you cross, make a left, go to the top, make a left, go to the end at the railroad tracks, make a right, takes you down in and drive down to the dam. It's really a unique area to have in the city. At one time, but we know the dollars will never be there, the plan was to, instead of going, I should say, cross the Trestle Bridge, there is one plan, but it was quite expensive to take, you'd have to build a bridge over the channel that goes under the railroad bridge to the city property line on property on the north side of the railroad, or south side of the railroad tracks, bringing it around that bay, and then up towards the horse bridges where the NSP property is. In lieu of that, the plan is bring people over the bridge, bring them around over the little dam, go up the hill on Bridge Street, and have an at-grade crossing over to this, where the city garages are there. Then for the one block from Division down to River, they'd be on Second Street, and then you could bring, the plan would be to take them down to First Street, down to the bicycle path of ours, and then connect through. So,
It's gonna happen.
so if you have the opportunity to look at it
One of these years.
Yeah.
It's gonna make it happen.
and see it, you'll understand why it makes sense. Especially, like I said, we already own the land. So it could really be nice, and so the part of the committee is like, okay, we're here to help make it as nice as it can be once we know what we got to work with.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Good
didn't mean to
summary.
get preachy, but that's what,
No, it was a good,
yeah, that's what they're
good to know.
trying to do, and you guys should know it because it affects parks
Yep.
in Hudson. And as this starts going forward with the village and planning, it's gonna hit social media. People are gonna say, people are doing nefarious things, blah, 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 and it's just because they discovered it now, it's been going on, worked on by Bruce and by others for years. So that's all I've got there on that stuff. Updates.
I'll run through all three of these here. So first one for projects, the net climber that was approved has recently been installed. If you get a chance to swing up there and take a peek at it. And then along in Prospect Park, I had my staff going on the hillside of Prospect Park between the upper and the lower parks. There's a bunch of buckthorn in there and just invasives. We took the FECon and cleaned it up. Go up there and take a peek. It looks a lot different. It really opens it up. It looks, in my opinion, it looks really good. It kind of opens up the park. You can see down below now when you're up top, so on and so forth. So, yeah, it really cleaned it up. Second thing is, any questions on that?
Yeah, I'll throw one out.
Yeah.
If you have an opportunity and you're up in that part of the park, as you go to the south towards the old hospital site, where the curbing ends and there's that stuff there, walk out on that point. That is every bit, if not more beautiful, than the one that we have open now. Yeah, the buckthorn and everything in has closed off, and it's giant, big prairie oaks.
Yeah.
So that over time, that would be an area for us or the park board, the city, to look at. Do we put another pavilion out there? How do we further
The southwest
enhance
corner of the park.
that part?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it is a great view, yes. Anthony?
Property
just-
owner up there does have a gazebo out there too. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah.
played in
It's
it,
pretty run down, but
yeah.
Yeah.
that would be cool if you could use that. 'cause
Yeah.
Well, it's on private property.
I know.
We thought at one time that we could bring, the old entrance to the park used to come up behind there, across the street from the Carmelite. Came up
Ah.
and wound up. It didn't go straight up there, it wound up and came up through there. And we didn't know as the park board until the Tom Zulli and crew went up and started cutting down stuff and opening it up.
Oh.
That when it was, when those condominiums and those apartments went in,
Yeah.
this street was I won't say condemned, but I guess it is. And they got half the property, and the city got half the property.
They vacated
we don't,
it, yeah.
We don't have that. And that gazebo was on, that's from the old sanitarium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you look at the hill,
He's got a gate. and a-
got him the geezer here. If you look at the hillside that goes up from the house where the city is, there's all kinds of grottos and steps and benches and everything built into that hillside from when it was a sanitarium. They used to have peacocks there and stuff.
Huh.
It's pretty cool.
All right. Second thing is the White Camp Park splash pad. So as we speak, the concrete is being installed. So they did the border yesterday. They did half today, and then they're going to center half today, and then they're going to do the other half of the center tomorrow, and along with the pad where the controller box goes. So needless to say, by the end of the week, the concrete work will be completed. Next step after that is to install the fixtures, and then we'll kind of see what the weather's like. They do want to turn it on to test it this year, just to see. I will cross that bridge when we get to it. I don't want it to be the middle of November and then have to winterize it right away. So I'd almost rather wait to the end, wait and then do it in the spring. But like I said, we'll kind of just play it by ear. But yeah, so, probably within the next couple weeks, you'll see the fixtures up and so ready to open for next spring. And then we do have, I ordered those shade structures. And so once those arrive, probably do a spring installation on those as well, just to kind of let you know. But yeah, that's good. I'm glad to see that project wrapping up. And then the last thing that I have, just for your knowledge, is on October 20th, the week of October 20th, we'll start to kind of winterize some of the restrooms, the lesser used ones. And so JJ Barnes, kind of our lead our park staff, will be out there doing that. And then he's gone the last week of October. And then we'll finish up winterizing irrigation and the rest of the restrooms in November. So when we do winterize restrooms, depending upon the park, we will put out a portable toilet, just as park users continue to use the park throughout the month of November. Hit some good weather days, people still use them. So we just don't want to get in a time crunch where the weather switches on us right out, in an instant and things are freezing out.
Yeah.
So that's what I have for project updates.
And then there are items that we're going to have coming up for us is a lease on Grandview with the boosters.
The Hudson boosters, yep. So I'm currently negotiating with the Hudson booster program. I did run this by the mayor and the city administrator. The athletic fields up at Grandview Park, they are 95% used by the Hudson boosters. And right now we already have a scheduling agreement with them. So they do have our scheduling out there. And so they approached the city like, what would it look like if we did an agreement similar to North Hudson, Cratley Lane? Off of Cratley Lane, we have ball fields up there that we have an agreement with the Hudson boosters that they maintain that schedule. So we're looking at possibly doing something similar to that out at Grandview Park. So we're kind of looking at, who's going to pay for the water to irrigate, who's going to pay for the power and the lights, who's going to mow it, who's going to empty trash, who's going to So those are the things that we're discussing around capital improvements over the long term. So needless to say, we're kind of working through some of that stuff along with the DNR, because that land was originally purchased through a grant from the DNR. And so they have some stipulations on whether we sell it or lease, so on and so forth. So working through that as well. But that'll be coming to next month's meeting. So I would expect the Hudson boosters to be here to answer any questions, so on and so forth. We're going to look at our 2026 park policies and fees, improve them. Our outdoor recreation plan expires in 2025, so the end of this year. So I will put that on the agenda for next month's meeting, just to kind of do a quick intro, maybe list the items that we need to look at. Obviously, the capital improvement plan, we'll want to look at that as well, that 10-year plan. And so we'll do a kind of an intro, and then maybe in January, February, we'll look at doing an approval to do 2026 to 2030. Is that 5 years? So that'll be on there as well. And then the last thing that I'm working on that I didn't list on the agenda is officially naming the park in the Bella Rose subdivision. And so my thought, and obviously this will be open for discussion, but because of the land that was purchased for that development in general was owned by the Atwood family for how many years, Pat? Ever. It's my recommendation that we name that park Atwood Park. And so I did actually reach out to Greg Johnson, who was the developer of that acreage, and then I did reach out to Bob Atwood and kind of just ran it by him, and they're both on board with doing that. And so I'll have something formal in front of you at the next month's meeting for approval. So lots going on. So
Anybody have any questions about anything or any items to add to a future agenda? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you, everyone.